enginn kynnir Forever Alone Filmmaking podcast af því að öllum alveg drullu sama ef þið búið til myndirnar ykkar eða ekki. Þess vegna verðið bara að fara og gera það sjálf. Kynnirnir ykkar eru hommin M. Strange, fábjáninn Jimmy Screamerclaws og algjöri hálfvitinn James Ead. Tonight's guest is Kial Natale, known from his YouTube channel Megasteakman and Pokemon Apocalypse trailer.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 6 of the Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast, the filmmaking podcast where we talk about making animated and live-action movies and all that stuff. No matter what, whether you're alone or not alone, like tonight's guest is, but we do it anyway, and I'm joined by...
I'm Jimmy Screamerclaws.
Yes, and the other guy...
I am not Jimmy Screamerclaws. I'm James Ed.
Okay, and tonight our special guest is Kial. Hope I say his last name right. Natale. It's not
that's perfect.
Okay, sweet. But you're not on the line yet, Kial. So you know.
Oh, sorry.
That wasn't
I'll be
you.
quiet.
That was the producer.
I was impersonating this guy named Kyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kial is Megasteakman on YouTube, so you can go check out Megasteakman. And he has a bunch of awesome videos where he does like parodies and like just really funny shit, integrates live action with 3D and just does some crazy stuff. Like one of my favorite ones he did is his Minecraft girlfriend one, where it's like this dude who's building Minecraft penises all over in the real world, and I just thought it was awesome. But most people might know him maybe from his Pokemon, like he did like a trailer for like a Pokemon movie that doesn't exist, but it looked really awesome. So he's doing all kinds of cool shit and like, you know, blowing up his face all over the YouTube. And he works with real people. So, you know, us Forever Alone guys don't. So it's a glimpse into the world of a person who works with real living biological humans, I assume, but we'll ask him. So hello, Kial. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Oh, am I on the line yet?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. I'm really honored. I really enjoy these podcasts.
Wasn't my impression of you spot on?
Oh, I didn't hear it because I wasn't on the line.
Yeah, dude. Come on.
Yeah. You should hear it. Like, download this podcast later and listen to it. It was like spot on.
I might use it to answer my phone later if I don't want to talk.
Yeah, so how would you describe what you're doing right now with your films and videos and all that stuff?
Well, right now I'm just basically doing parody spoofs, basically rip-off videos. I'm hoping to get some kind of internet audience in which I want to bring to other avenues like feature films or, you know, the like.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I've kind of seen that's like a thing, and that's like, I mean, it's really seems like it's a pretty effective way to do shit. So it's like, there's all these people out there, because I know James has told me about that a lot. It's like, you know, there's all these different streams of interest, right? And people are already in them, and it's like you got to like stick your hand in them and like, hey, to kind of grab onto them, right?
Yeah, I think that crowdsourcing is very important for the future of filmmaking because, yeah, I don't really see a future in Hollywood or just a lot of the kind of funding that goes towards movies isn't for the stuff that I'm interested in, obviously, and you guys as well. So, yeah, I think getting an audience and having that audience kind of support you and you support that audience is a very important symbiotic relationship for film.
Now, you're a pretty technical, tech-savvy dude. Do you see, I mean, what do you think is the hardest thing today doing what you do? Is it getting an audience?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's so many voices out there. You really have to offer them something different. And I think that's the challenge.
So, like, the technical stuff, like actually making the movie and compositing in 3D, that seems a little easier than actually getting somebody to watch the stuff and, like...
Yeah, because you can learn that stuff very easily, whereas there's no resource out there that I've found on building your audience, really.
Yeah, there isn't an Andrew Kramer of, like, audience building, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That would be pretty awesome, though, if it was just like, do this tutorial and get 200 subscribers or something, right?
Well, there is the YouTube playbook.
What's that?
Oh, it's on YouTube /partners or something like that, and it's basically a guide on how to... create some kind of tentpole programming or collaborations, how to build your audience, essentially.
So all the stuff that I've never done in Screamerclaws or James said that we're doing it all wrong.
I don't know. I
I've
don't
tried
know
to
if there's a
follow
right
them
way.
before. They just never worked out for me.
Yeah, I can. It's obviously luck, I think.
So yeah, I mean, to me, that definitely seems like the biggest challenge. It's like, yeah, you can make a whole film by yourself and make it look awesome, this and that, but still, how the fuck are people going to watch it, or how are they going to see it, or, you know, grabbing that interest? So,
But it can be self-defeating. Like, also, I'm putting off making the stuff until I have the audience, like the feature film, and that's also a trap. So, I mean, when's it going to be enough, right?
yeah, tell us about that trap. What is it?
Well, just the idea that, like, oh, once I have this many supporters, then I can release something, or, you know, it's the same thing as what you talk about with the gear horror. I mean, you can kind of invest too much in your YouTube numbers, and maybe that's what I'm holding it off, using it as some kind of crutch to hold off on doing something. So.
I mean, dude, it's all like the Wild West. Like, no one knows the way right now. So, you know, it's all about just following what you think is right, you know?
Yeah.
Because people might try to tell you, like, no, you got to do it this way, but it's all about, I think, since, yeah, everything's so new, no one knows the rules. We're all just kind of like, yeah, and if it keeps us alive and making stuff, then I say it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what's it like working with real living humans in live action shoots?
Oh, man. Well, I guess the best way to put it is it's kind of like a dance, and you don't want to step on other people's toes. Like, I think the best way to incorporate people is to give them free reign to an extent. Like, people will do their best work when they feel comfortable to basically take risks or go out on a limb, and they feel like they're actually contributing. So trick them into thinking that they're contributing.
So, like the dude doing the lights or something, like you can give him his own style, and he can do it in his, you know, in a way that he wants to. So he takes pride in it, right? Is that kind of
exactly? Yeah, that's very important. I think otherwise you're just like a monkey, you know, servant or something, and that's no one wants to be that, right?
Yeah. And is this true? I've always thought, like, if you're working with no or low budgets, you can't be a douchebag. Or can you?
Oh, definitely.
You can't, right? Because then people will just, like, leave.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people, and I hate to sound egotistical at this moment, but a lot of people tell me that they want to work with me because I treat them like human beings, and I think that's important.
Yeah, we would too, right? Jimmy Screamer Claus would be like, real living biological humans working with us.
I wouldn't even know how to talk to them. I just like, how do I work you? Where's your buttons?
There's no control null on this person. Yeah.
I was going to say, is most of your crew like friends, or do you actually hire people? Or
Oh, pretty much all friends. We have this group on Facebook called the Megasteakman Steak Cave, and anyone can join. And we talk about our ideas there. In fact, most of the ideas that I do aren't really things that I've written. It's stuff that other people have written, because that's much more accessible. Like 3D, a bit difficult, but anyone can kind of write an idea. It's pretty simple.
You know, that's awesome, Kyle. This whole sense of community I got going, I think that's pitiful and wonderful. And if I wasn't such an antisocial asshole, I'd like to have a community of my own. But
thanks, Grandpa Strange.
nah, dude, I think that's the cool thing, right? Like, yeah, having a group of people and working together, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I think it's important, but also it can be... I've been reading a lot of books, like those kind of self-help books or whatever, the motivational books, and they talk... One of them, I think, is called Uncertainty, talks about putting off your creative impulse onto other people. Like, will this be okay? What do the masses think? And I think that's also another danger of that community approach, is sometimes I find I might be giving away some of my creativity and like, well, is it all right with everyone else? So that's a danger of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I was watching a student film that someone made here, and it was like really well done, and they shot it like on a red and had all this cool shit, and the actors are pretty good. But the whole thing was entirely derivative, and there wasn't like one shred of creativity. It was like, okay, that's Kick-Ass, that's Pulp Fiction, that's this. And I was just thinking about how in a group, you know, it's like everyone's so uncomfortable or weird, and it's like, you know, you're trying to bring up some new idea, and if there's no point of reference in their mind or pop culture, then it's like, well, I don't know. So it kind of takes... So most of the time, I think it would fall into doing more stuff that's more residual, right? Because it resonates with everyone. Mm-hmm. Rather than like, come out on a limb with me. You know, and the group might be like, oh, depending on your group, but I just saw this in this film that I was watching, and I was like, oh, come on. Wasn't someone a douchebag to be like, no, you're all wearing plastic bags on your faces and groping your genitals like jellyfish. Trust
well, that's
me.
actually very interesting, because I was just working on a feature-length film, and everything that the director said was, oh, well, I saw it in this movie. Or, like, basically that's how he justified any creative choice he made. And it was just like, it was stifling. Like, it was just terrible. But in fact, he had to do that because the producers, like, they hate it. So he's like, oh, it worked in this movie. So, yeah, I think that's why people do it. They're afraid.
Yeah, well, I mean, that proves, like, I took one screenwriting class for, like, 2 days when I was in college, and, like, the first thing was, they're like, to write a movie, you need to combine 2 movies that had already been made into yours, right? And in my whatever young mind, I was like, that's bullshit. I'm a creative artist. I'll be original, right? And then I never did that. And then years later, like now, it's like, oh, to sell a movie, oh, it has to have something that already made money. Oh, I see. Not that I ever did it, but kind of, there's the art, right, of film, and then there's the business of film. Mm-hmm. And they're 2 entirely different things, and they do 2 different things, and I think you need to understand, like, how each one works, right, so you don't get mixed up like I did.
Well, I don't know. Like, I've really valued the work that you guys are doing. Like, I've never seen anything like, Jimmy, your stuff, Where'd the Dead Go to Die? Like, I remember watching Tainted Milk. I was working at a library, and I was looking over my shoulder, like, is anyone watching me watch this? I was just freaking out. Yeah, I think there's great value in that.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe a currency that no one knows the value. Maybe we're making like the Bitcoin films, where it's like, this could be something in the future. I don't know what it is now. It seems kind of dangerous. But
Kyle,
I think it's like you got to make it so you really don't have any competition. Like, who can really compete with crazy shit?
Yeah.
Because like the closest thing to like competition would be you, M-Dot, and like our movies are completely different. So
yeah,
it's not
we're in
even,
our
like,
own little universes, and
it's just because we use the same programs that we're really like put together.
And just so you know, Kyle, I talked about this off the air before. People send me emails. Like, I've gotten like a couple of them before, and they're like, stop trying to rip off Jimmy's Screamer Claws. You suck. And you know what? I'm an animator, and I'm going to be better than you, so watch out.
Ow.
He's going to take both us down.
Yeah.
He'll take me down with us. Don't worry, you'll go down and I'll go down.
I'm like,
too.
why are you talking like that? Jimmy Screamer Claws is my friend.
Jimmy, talk to him. Make him be my friend too.
But there's so many different avenues that we can go to. So it's just like, it's just kind of the saying, that like a drunken frat party, you would tell people to make friends. Whatever works, bro. So I think that's kind of where we are with filmmaking right now. Did you have a question for Kyle on James?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Do you think it would be difficult to get people on board with a more original idea than it would be to something that's kind of more derivative? Like, for example, if, Jimmy wanted to do Tainted Milk, the live-action version, would it be difficult to be like, hey, can you be a part of this project that's kind of fucked up?
Well, as M-Dot said, basically there's no point of reference when you're doing something new, so it's kind of hard to get everyone on the same page. And that's obviously the challenge with working with people, is getting them to share your vision to an extent. Like, how do you explain Tainted Milk to somebody? But now that there is Tainted Milk as a reference point, it might be simpler to do a live-action version.
Now, do you think it would be easier as a frame of reference to do like an animatic first and then show someone, hey, this is my rough draft of what I think the movie would be or the short would be, and then jump off of that?
Oh, I'm a big fan of those, yeah. But also, if you do, so when you start locking things down, then you kind of take the creativity out of the people you're working with, because it's not like the animatic. So you have to be flexible. But yeah, that's a good launching point, I think.
And this is something I thought about, like, I don't know the way. I'm just thinking about it. And it's like, let's say you build a big audience doing stuff based on, these different things that they already know. Is there a fear that, like, okay, now here's my big original project, and then they're like, where's Pokemon? How come Pokemon's not in it? Or how come there's no Minecraft? Do you still have to keep them baited in with some reference? Or do you think, what does it take for that? When does that moment come when that audience member is like, no, you know what? I'm just down for this guy.
Yeah, I haven't reached that point yet, but that is a big fear of mine. Is like, I feel like if I do resort to these cheap tactics of referencing other pop culture, if that runs dry, will the audience run dry as well? I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that people will start to dig my style for what it is and stick with me. But yeah, that is a big danger, I think.
And I think that's the important thing, right? You have to have some intangible in your work that makes it yours.
Yeah.
Right? Because then if it's not, then it's just like, well, okay, here's some other Minecraft video. Like, So, because I've seen a lot of stuff, and it's like the only thing it has going for it is that it references this piece of pop culture or whatever, and the person isn't putting anything new in it. And I think that's the thing that will keep your audience or something.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, in fact, that was a big thing for Pokemon. It's like, why just redo Pokemon? I think we need to change these things, almost kind of like the retelling of myths. And rather than retelling the same myth, well, let's just take it someplace new. And that's what we tried to do with Pokemon, and I think Minecraft Girlfriend as well.
Yeah, did you get a lot of people, like in the videos you did after that, like, where's Pokemon?
Every day. I actually get like almost an email, or if you look at my face or my YouTube wall, it's all where's Pokemon. People will comment on my new videos, where's Pokemon? I'll just say one word, Pokemon. It's like, that's all they want me for. That's all you want from me? I have so much more to give.
Yeah, because like even, me doing like the stuff I'm doing, and people, yeah, 8-bit, where's the 8-bit stuff? Where's the video game? And it's just like, allow me to grow as an artist. But, it's like your audience, they think they latch on to something, and then like that defines you. And because, I look at like bands I used to like, and it's like, wait, they changed, and I wouldn't like them anymore. But then once you're that artist, you're like, yeah, I should be able to go into new things. I shouldn't have to be stuck forever. But I guess that's something you just have to navigate.
Yeah, like you have to find that balance of what you want to make and what your audience wants to see. And I haven't found that balance yet, but well, that's the challenge.
There's different philosophies. Like you can be this what Steve Jobs became, like the dictator, and it's like, this is what you want. And then people are like, I want this. Or you can be like, what do you guys want? Okay, I'll do my best to do it for you. So it's kind of, which one or where are you going to fall in? Yeah,
some kind of spectrum like that, yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely think you have to make a choice or make a leap and like, no. Whether you're going to tell them like, I know what's better for you. You need to watch Flaming Buttocks in 3D, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then I think even if you do something crazy like that, if you just keep doing it, then people will eventually just like, oh, it's a flaming buttock guy. And like, I love the flaming buttocks, even if it made them revulse in horror the first time they saw it. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really sad thing about YouTube is you kind of get pigeonholed into like, oh, you're that viral video guy, and like you always try to do something different, but then people will know you as that guy. I feel like a has-been or something.
Yeah, or it's like however they can explain what you are in like 10 seconds or 5 seconds.
Yeah,
screaming at the camera guy or this guy. And yeah, that's why I find YouTube is an interesting place. Oh, tell me, because I know James is up on all this stuff too on the internet, but tell me, Kyle, what you think from your perspective the difference is between YouTube's ecosystem and Vimeo's, and the people who watch it, or what's going on with those two.
Well, at the risk of offending somebody, I'd say there's a big IQ difference. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, like it just seems like YouTube is just. Some of the comments are just such like garbage. Like I'm just wondering where these people are coming from and like what they're trying to say. But I mean, maybe it could be like a language barrier too, because I think a lot of people English isn't their first language, so they're having a hard time formulating their ideas. Whereas on YouTube, whereas Vimeo, I think is a lot more. I mean, they're artists. It's more of an artist community, so they're a bit more articulate and they know what they want to say and how to formulate those thoughts into words. But yeah, I'd say the reason I'm on YouTube, obviously revenue, because I want to be able to support myself making videos for people, and also just the audience, the numbers are there. It's where you get. I think that's where most people go for video content.
Yeah, because I've just been watching the two and kind of where they've gone and the direction they've gone, and just kind of like, yeah, it seems to me like Vimeo is more like if you made some serious film or some kind of like cool ass animation that maybe would be too experimental or something from YouTube, or you want. People who are, it seems like there's more creators on Vimeo to me.
That's right.
And then more just straight consumers or, normal people on YouTube. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think that could be the downfall of Vimeo is like, I love going on Vimeo and like there's always cool stuff and there's like groups full of like amazing graphics, amazing experimental videos. So it's easy to find that stuff, but other people aren't really looking there. It seems to be mostly artists that go on Vimeo.
One of the funniest things I saw in one of your videos that I just thought was an awesome concept, and maybe you can explain it more, was in one of the videos you had boobs as a currency.
Yeah.
And then I thought like that was fucking genius with like YouTube. Like, yeah, you put boobs on a thumbnail, it's like money. or have boobs somewhere.
God.
So can you say something about that, like how it's become a currency?
Well, that's just kind of our comment on, like, a lot of people are misleading in their thumbnails and tags, and just to get that initial impulse to watch the video, like, ooh, there's boobs in that video, I gotta watch it. Like, the related video section is always like something like an open-ended question, like, have you ever, or there's just like a weird thumbnail, and it just kind of piques your curiosity. Unfortunately, I think that's what YouTube is. It's like a lot of flash and a lot of like, oh my God, sex! I got to click on that link just to see what sex is like, and that kind of stuff.
But it's money, right? I mean, those people all use AdSense, so it's like when they're clicking, that's money. So it's like, yeah, boobs equal currency on YouTube, right? It's like money.
Yeah, and that's I mean, where is the artist going to go besides boobs and ass, and like that's just unfortunate. But I mean, we're hoping to strike that balance of actually having good, fun content on our channel, and also the little bit of the flash. But it's kind of a dangerous territory. Like, are you as an audience, or rather, are you as an artist trying to say boobs equal money? Like, is that what your goal is? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, basically, that's what we're trying to poke fun at on that video.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious because it pretty much, I mean, I don't know if it'll be that way forever, but I was just like, okay, all right, I got to put some money in my videos and my movies then. Okay, I got some boobs in there. I could do that. Jiggle deformer. It's not too hard. Okay. got to keep up. But yeah, I just thought that was really funny because I hadn't seen anyone say that or, anywhere else before. So how about let's put on the geek hat for a bit, Kyle? You want to put on your geek hat? Is your geek hat on?
I think it's never left my head. I take a shower with it.
Okay. Whoa. All right. So why don't you tell us, technically, Kyle, how you create these high-definition videos using extremely high bit rate and various pieces of software, and what pieces of software you use, and what version numbers, and what plugins.
Oh my God. Okay, well.
Nah, but I'm a tech geek. I love that shit. So
I love using ZBrush to create the organic models. In fact, that's what I did for all the Pokemon. Fun fact, each Pokemon took about 12 hours to make, or 12 to 14 hours, and they're on screen for like 2 seconds. So that sums up my work fairly well. It's just hours and hours and hours, and it's on screen for 2 seconds. I think as an animator, you guys can relate.
Yeah, I mean, because you're doing a lot of match moving, right? So it's like you don't want it on there for too long anyway, because...
Yeah, it starts to look a little bit wonky. Yeah. So basically, I'll use After Effects to comp them in. Oh, Cinema 4D, of course, for rendering and animation. Actually, you're the reason that you're the reason I use Cinema 4D. I saw your film, We Are the Strange. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And you said it was very artist friendly, and it definitely is. I've looked at other 3D packages, and yeah, no, Cinema 4D is definitely the best in my opinion.
So let's go through a normal shoot for you. Like, say you shoot in a day, and it's something that's like, using match moving and comping. Like, so what are you doing, and then what are you doing with the footage? And
okay, so when you're doing a shot like that, it's very important to make sure that there's something that the camera tracker can track. For most of my stuff, I actually use 2D tracking. I don't even go into 3D tracking because
really?
I just use Mocha because oftentimes planes will work good enough. Like, it's just say for example the Minecraft Girlfriend. I just tracked, like, it was mostly just 2D tracks.
Really? Oh, I thought you were doing full 3D tracks.
On some of the shots I were, like, when I was panning around all the penises. Oh, that sounds weird. When some of them I were, but like, the shots of the girlfriend, like, all you need to do is track a plane, and then that's good enough. So you want to make sure that there are good tracking points, and what that means is in focus, not a lot of motion blur. In fact, it's good to shoot with a kind of a fast shutter so that there's not a lot of motion blur.
So how do you decide whether a shot is going to be tracked in 2D or 3D? Like, what are the factors that, like, oh, that's 3D track?
Mostly it's if you're moving in more than one axis at one time. So, like, say if we're pushing in or rotating around something, that's definitely 3D. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, like nodal pans, like you're panning on a tripod, or even some handheld stuff, it mostly depends on how much you wrap around the object, either up, down, left, right, that kind of stuff. That will determine how much 3D tracking you need. And oftentimes you don't do these crazy, like, circular dollies around an object. I mean, unless you're doing a tech demo, which you'll do that on a table, like, all day. You'll just rotate around an object. But mostly for me, like, it's 2D tracking is good enough because you don't jib up over it, or you don't, like, rotate around it. It's just kind of like you're flush on with it, and it's just you know.
And what's like the time difference? How much longer does it take to do a 3D track versus a 2D?
Not a whole lot of difference. I'd say the main difference for me, 3D track is much harder to correct. Say if it's really messed up and you want to like kind of tweak the keyframes, it's so like you can't really do much with a 3D. Versus 2D, you can actually kind of eyeball. And you might have to do that with a 3D track anyways, but I think it's easier to eyeball a 2D.
And so if people aren't sure what we're talking about if you want to composite in computer-generated graphics or models into live-action footage, right?
That's right, yeah.
So this would be like if you wanted to have a monster like walk in the background of your city or like some crazy 3D shit like in a scene, this is when you would use tracking, which you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, for a lot of live action, any live action with visual effects, you're using tracking, right, of some kind for everything.
Yeah, unless your camera's completely locked off, you'll need to track it.
So if some person's like, I want to have a giant monster rummaging through the city and a bullet and bullet time flying in this guy's head, and then that's all tracking, right?
Yes, yeah. In fact, I would recommend doing locked off stuff just at first, just so you can kind of experiment with compositing stuff. Because, once you have moving footage, the complexity of the shot just goes up exponentially.
And where are some places that really helped you learn how to do it that you could throw out there for people?
Well, you mentioned it earlier. The Video Copilot is a great resource, videocopilot.net. I also go to Creative Cow. That's where I got my start learning After Effects. Pretty much there's a ton of After Effects tutorials out there. And actually, I'm fortunate because my university has a license for lynda.com, Lynda. Lynda, that's a great resource if you have access to it. Some of the tutorials are actually free on there, too, so check out Lynda. But there's so many things out there. You just search for After Effects, motion tracking, that kind of stuff.
So you'll go shoot, and I mean, you're shooting people like on a green screen, right? You're comping a lot of stuff too, like people into CG backgrounds and stuff too. Yeah,
green screen is very important. Even still, you'll find that you have to roto a lot of stuff. And what roto means, for those people who don't know, is it's drawing frame by frame, often matte lines around the characters, so that, say if you wanted to have a monster walk behind your actor, if you didn't green screen that, what that means is you're going to have to actually draw the outline of the actor per frame, or with tweening every other frame or something like that. But it's very time consuming. So that's why we use green screens.
Hey, on a geek note, do you ever go to After Effects, aescripts.com? You ever check out that site? Did you see that new EFX composite bundle that has like that Z buffer thing? Like I saw this plugin, and if you export a Z buffer or Z depth map from your 3D app and bring it into After Effects, you can use this plugin, like if you had 20 different objects, like at different depths, without exporting buffer objects for each one, you can just use this plugin to stick 2D shit in between those things in 3D. It was like really awesome.
So like you set a range for like what the object would be, like almost like...
Like if there was 10 layers of objects or whatever, this little plugin has a slider, and then you can just go move to 4 and then stick this guy in between 4. The demo has a guy walking forward in Z space, walking in front of behind of all these things, just using this plugin. So I was like, oh shit, if you were doing a lot of, CG mixed with live action in After Effects, that should be awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out. Another thing I use a lot is Normality. Just because, have you used Normality?
Yeah, I bought it a long time ago and I used it a bit. But tell everyone out there what it does.
Well, when you in Cinema 4D, when you render out a normal pass, which is basically like a hyper bump map, like it's just like these crazy rainbow colors. It's actually psychedelic.
Say that in that voice you have in your video about the quick tips or whatever.
Oh, pro tips. Normal map.
Hyper bump map.
Hyper bump map. I would love to see a film just done in normal maps, actually, or AO. Like I love the ambient occlusion pass. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is like rainbow colored nonsense that the computer can read as 3D data. And when you combine that with a depth pass, you can actually relight things in After Effects. And so oftentimes, that's one of the things that's really cool about Cinema 4D is multi-pass rendering is really easy. So you can actually separate out the lights. When I am working in Cinema 4D, I'll take a still frame of my footage and put it in the background of the camera view. so I can see where the lights are coming from. Like, say the left side of the actor is really bright. I'll put a light on that side of the actor. But sometimes you just don't get the color temperatures right, or it just doesn't look right. If you have multi-passes rendered out, you can actually change the color of the light, double the light up. But even still, it doesn't look quite right. Normality will allow you to put in more lights.
So is this one of your secrets, Kyle, to your awesome live-action CG composite you're sharing with us?
Yeah, it's a pro tip.
Oh my god.
I'm guys, for free.
Like, yeah, the first time I saw Normality, I was like, oh my god. Like, I had stopped doing stop-motion CG stuff, but if I still did it, it would be like the best thing ever. So pretty much what it does, it allows you to integrate the lighting and shadows between your live-action and your CG, like, in a way that just not too long ago was like, no way. And it's like, yeah.
It definitely will, because, like, once you hit render, that's what you get. Like, it's frozen. Like, not a lot of people realize that. When I'm talking to people about the 3D process, they think it's 3D the whole way through. But really, once you're out of that 3D application, it's all 2D images. And this kind of allows you to inexpensively put a new light source in, because otherwise you'd have to re-render it, like put it into a 3D app and re-render it.
So what about if you have, because I've never done this, say the shot's locked down, then there's only one normal map, like one image you need to output, right, to use in the plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if it's a moving camera, do you output a normal map image sequence and use that?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay, tight. Sounds pretty great.
I like it.
So if people out there, because have you done any match moving, mixing CG with live action, James? You ever tried it? James. James.
Sorry, I was fumbling for my unmute button. I've done very little with the Super Meat Boy video I did. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of like faking it, just doing the compositing, and it was meant to look like crap, so I didn't worry about lighting or anything.
Oh, okay.
And with the Binding of Isaac video I did, the live action never met the 3D stuff I did, so I never really mixed and matched.
Did you ever think of like checking out Normality? Have you checked that out so you could like really integrate the lighting between the CG and the live action?
I want to check it out, but I don't think I'm at that point yet, because I would have to find people to be in front of cameras for me without feeding them like massive, copious amounts of mushrooms.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people want to be in front of the camera. You'd be surprised.
Tell us some secrets, Kyle. How can we get some humans?
Yes. How
Where do we find these people? Do we grow them ourselves?
Really, you talk to anybody on the street, they want to be in your video. Like, it's like, I think the one problem with Megasteakman, Steak Cave, is we're probably like 80% actors and like 10% of like, I don't even know, that doesn't even equal 100%. I don't know what the other 10% does, but we're just all actors pretty much. So yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem finding people to put in front of the camera.
Honestly, I've actually had a lot of trouble finding people. Every time I've asked anybody, or I put out notices, or I've tried to find people, I would get like maybe like one response and someone who wouldn't show up when we were shooting.
Well, that is a problem, yeah, like committing, especially on like Craigslist or those other sources. It's hard to get reliable people, but once you find a few people, they'll typically stick with you, unless you really piss them off.
What would you recommend? Should I get a pretty big vehicle and then drive around and abduct people?
Yeah, but like we'll act for Captain Crunch or something, put that on the side, that'll be good.
So are there any sites you can go to, Kyle, that like you can find like actors or crew or something, not like Craigslist, but any like film ones? I haven't kept up on that, so I don't really know.
I think mostly they're local. Like I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and there's like I think 3 or 4 websites just for Vancouver. So I think it's kind of a local thing, and it depends on your city. Unfortunately, I haven't seen one that's like kind of a global site for actors, like a database.
Oh, okay, that would be
probably exists, but I haven't looked for it.
Yeah. So, what's your ultimate goal as a filmmaker, video maker, guy, and all that, Kyle?
Well, ultimately, I want to do at least one feature film. I've been kind of gearing up for making something, but the problem is to keep the YouTube machine rolling along, I have to kind of divide my attention between the script that I want to produce and then just like the crappy videos that I do every week. So I think ultimately for me, I want to do a feature film, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough to give content to people and work on the long term.
Hey, man, I don't think they're crappy. I think they're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So what do you see? So that's the biggest challenge right now, is that there's one of you. Is that like the biggest challenge? You just the time?
Yeah, and you'll never find anyone, even when working with people, you'll pretty much never find someone who's as committed as you are. And you just kind of have to accept that, because obviously people have other stuff going on in their lives. But that is the big issue.
So what do you see? Because I mean, I haven't done it. I tried it once, but my funding failed. But kind of a good way to make that time for yourself, right? Is just to like try to Kickstarter a project and make enough money through that, so you don't have to work on those videos and you can just concentrate on it. So as a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, that's like the big challenge, is because you are one person, like you're not only making all the content for the Kickstarter, but you have to kind of promote it as well.
Yeah.
And that's where I fail, is because and where the group succeeds is that I'll make a video, I'll spend like 2 weeks, say that Vic Taves video, like I spent every moment in between working full time and, you know, all that other stuff working on that video. But now that it's done, I don't have time to kind of send it places. Like it's hard to promote yourself, say either on YouTube or through a Kickstarter, and continue working on producing content.
Yeah, you kind of have to pick and choose, right? Like the things you're going to specialize in or be really good at.
Yeah, you have to choose what video you want to push and like how long you're going to. Yeah, it's really hard to manage time because, as you guys know, you have to do everything. So it's like, where do I focus my attention at this given moment?
But does that seem feasible to you? Like, say you got a lock on the feature you wanted to make and you finished the script, and then it was like, okay, I think I need this much money to not work for a year, you know, or whatever it's going to take, and jump on Kickstarter and do that. I mean, what's the downside to that you see, if there is any?
Whew, I'm completely in the dark about that.
Because to me, it seems like if it works, it's just like free money, because there isn't even any, like, I don't know how many people have not completed the projects that they got funded, but, you know, it's kind of seems like some kind of like holy grail awesome thing to me, you know, for a film.
You never hear about the people who don't finish, do you?
Well, I don't know, because there's really no guarantee. It's not like you get your money back if they don't, you know, complete the project or anything. And I've known a couple people that have funded things, and they said that they all got made. So, yeah, it seems like a really good thing that we have available to us.
It does. But yeah, it's so hard to bring people's attention to it because there's so many issues. Like everyone has so much on their plates nowadays. They have to work much harder than they used to in the past, like just to stay afloat. And like, obviously people's time is limited. So how do you reach those people? It's very difficult.
Yeah. We'll have to wait till they get like their cell phones or their communication devices embedded into themselves, the interface with their nervous systems, and then we'll hire hackers to, like, you know, to create.
I'm sure they're going to be flooded with like Nigerian princes and all that stuff.
So time is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So it's not technology.
Yeah, definitely. Because, well, the stuff that we do, it's not quite photoreal, but we try to go for a higher polished look, and obviously that takes so much time. And I wonder if it's worth it sometimes, actually.
So let's look at this, because, you know, I rant about it a lot on my blog and stuff. Whenever I'm looking at a lot of filmmaking sites, like I used to have a bunch of them in my RSS feed, but I like canceled them all. I was like, God damn it! Because most of them that I go on, it's like, they're pretending the only problem there is for filmmakers are technical issues. Like the sensor isn't big enough on the camera, or the fucking, you know, there's like, it's like, to me, I don't see those technical issues. It's like you said, it's like time or like energy. And so does that seem strange? Do you see that? Does that seem weird to you?
You're definitely right. Like the new 5D came out, and I know I don't need the new 5D. I don't need the new 5D. But I keep checking on it because like it's built into our brains to like want to buy this shit, and like we don't need it. But it still is problematic. Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is time. Like cutting away a piece of time to only work on something and being focused in that period of time, because I don't know about you guys, but I find I get very frazzled very easily, and it's hard to stay focused for long periods of time, the amount of time that it takes to complete a project.
Yeah, you know, it kind of got me back going in the opposite direction. It's like in 3D rendering or whatever, it's like, you know, 1080p, 2K, 3K, 4K, fucking 8K, right? And you can think about it, and it's like, okay, that's awesome, 4K, even 4K. But then when you start rendering files, and it's like, well, fuck, a 4K still is like 45 megs. An image sequence is like, for one shot is like 6 gigs. And then you realize like how much bandwidth, how much disk space, and all the more money it's going to cost to go with this big thing. And to me, I'm just like, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, 2K versus 4K, like I don't see the difference, And so I'm all about trying to go the opposite direction so I can work faster and cheaper, through not going with those ridiculous like file sizes or whatever it is. So
I actually have an interesting story about that. I don't know if it's true, but this is something I heard on that animation I was working on. I heard that Pixar does like 720, like the 1280 by 720.
Yeah, I read that somewhere too. Yeah. And
it makes sense, but I don't know why I'm rendering out 1080 because I just blur it anyways to match the footage because my camera doesn't actually do 1080. It does something that's closer to 720. I don't know why I'm rendering that out because I end up blurring it anyways. Or even doing the anti-aliasing, that takes a lot of time to render. But I realize like if I'm blurring it, that's the same as anti-aliasing really. So that might be a way to go is just going, like as you said, lower resolution and then blurring it or just doing other kind of post-processing to make it look better.
Like if people, which most people do, if you use like magic bullet looks and you're adding fucking flares and grain and like all this shit to degrade the image, like some kind of like film stock emulation, then you're losing a lot of that resolution anyway. And so, you might as well. But I would say if you're going to go the highest you would want to go today would be 1080p anyway, right? If you like went to Blu-ray or something or iTunes, new 1080p. But, because I was at some NAB conference years ago speaking, and then they had, like, the red people there, and they're like, 8K, 18K! And I was, like, talking to some engineer guys, and I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Like,
it's so tough to work with. Red footage, it's so tough.
Yeah, like, it sounds awesome, right? And then when you have it in your computer, and you're like, it takes 4 seconds for one frame to update, like...
Pretty much, yeah. And like the nice thing is you can basically push in to any shot, like, but most people don't frame wide enough to take advantage of that. Like I think where it'd be an advantage is for me to motion track. Say if I was doing a close up of someone and I want to do a 3D track, well, there's just nothing to track because like you don't have enough environment to actually track. You have a moving character. So that's where I think the benefit of shooting a higher resolution would be. But yeah, it just takes so much time.
Well, there's also that whole philosophy too where it's like, shoot everything with no contrast. To get the highest whatever, like... It's just like, come on, have some fucking guts. Like, we're not acquiring digital content imagery to further post-process. It's like, dude, fucking light it. I mean, this is my philosophy. It's like, light it how you want it to look. But I think a lot of that comes through, having to work with producers and people who can't make up their minds, right? Because you go into, like, post-production bay and they're like, make it blue, make it day, make it night, and then all that latitude allows you to do that. But if you're making
they
your
don't
own
want to
films...
commit at front. Yeah, they want to, like, be able to commit later.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I think it can kind of become an attitude and pollute your own projects if you don't, like, just stick on things. If you're like, well, I need the 8,000 pixels and I need all the latitude and this and that. And then it's kind of, there were some filmmakers, I won't say their names, but I looked up to them, I guess, for what they were doing technically. And I was just waiting for them to make films. And then I was just like, wait a minute, this person's just a tech whore and they don't make anything. And they just complain about fucking writing. Yeah, I don't know. So I kind of was getting caught up into it. And then I'm like, what? It's all about your film and your story and your ideas and emotion and all these other things, not like pixels.
Yeah.
Even though we use pixels.
Pixels are important. They have their place.
So speaking of all those other things besides pixels, this was going to be the screenwriting episode. Would you care to stay on the air with us, Kyle, to talk screenwriting? Or do you have to go with all your friends and real friends?
I have nothing going on today.
Okay. Because we were talking about that, me and Jimmy Screamer Claus and James, because we're all at various stages of writing scripts or screenplays, and we got some questions about it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what should we do? You want to do the questions first, and then we'll kind of roll into...
You want to do that? I'll start off with the 2 questions, and that's how we'll get into it?
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull up my little text document here.
Okay.
All right, question number 1 is, do you actually write down the first things that come to your mind? Because I know that my first ideas are usually banal. Banal? I don't know how to say that word. Obvious cliches.
Let's start with you, James.
Well, the way I write, usually I do a brain dump where I take all the cliche stuff that I have, I just write as much as I can to the point where I have nothing to write about, and then I write more. And then from that, I go, how do I make a story with all these elements? I don't really jump into the screenplay from the get-go. I don't try to make a story from the get-go. I just trying to take everything out of my head and say, well, how can I make, like, it's almost like taking a bucket of Legos and dumping it on the floor. It's like, what can I make with this?
And is that working for you? Are you getting pages done? Did you try it a different way that didn't work before?
Well, I've tried, the typical, let's create characters and create a setting and then make a story around that and have your log line. And I never came up with anything that was interesting to me. So this new approach of just doing a brain dump and then connecting these ideas with a very loose story is much more appealing to me, and it works better for me.
Oh, what about you, Jimmy?
I write everything down always. Like, I have just notebooks everywhere with just all sorts of things written them in text documents spread out on like 6 different computers, and I just have stuff everywhere. And I kind of try to write in order too, because a lot of I try to connect everything. So writing in order kind of helps that way. So right now I have like 45 pages of my new screenplay, and I'm trying to get it around 90 or so for a feature, because I've never really written like a whole feature like that. I've always done longer shorts and put them together later, like I did for the last movie.
That's just the way that works for you, like writing all the stuff down and just having them in.
It's weird though, because I usually don't even go back and read them half the time. I need to write them down for some reason. It's almost like I won't be able to remember them later if I don't have it written down somewhere, even if I never read it again.
But do you use them even though you don't look at them?
Sometimes I do, and then sometimes I look at them again years later, and I just end up putting them up in something else instead. So I think it's good to write everything down. Yes.
What about you, Kyle? How are you going at this screenplay writing thing?
Well, normally I write down 1 or 2 things, but I just think about things for a really, really long time. And the ideas that stick with me that I remember are what ends up going into the screenplay. But I find it very interesting. Like, the best way to write is to just write. And that's when I get my real work done, is when you just sit down and you just go at it.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of a mixture of you last 2 guys kind of too, is that but I have like a built-in, the guy was saying everything he writes down at first is a cliche, and I just found that after going through it time and time again, you can just build in a cliche filter inside of your head, so that you kill the cliches, before they even come into your mind. And I think that just comes from being like a hater, or like a cynical, like, hating bastard that hates on everything, like, oh, he totally stole that from Lady Snowblood too, So then if you approach things like that, then of course, so you're not a hypocritical bastard, you cut down those ideas before they come out and even are considered in your mind for like a film idea. So I just come up with ideas that are like, oh, I've never seen that before. If I can't say I've never seen it before, then I don't even like consider it. So that's kind of what I do. I think of some scenario that I've never seen before, and then I just kind of go off on that.
I think the new word has a cliche filter in it.
Does it? Google?
It should.
Well, when Google can like access our thoughts, then it'll know all the cliches in people's minds, and it'll be like, eek, while you're reading it, it'll censor
and
it.
it shocks you once.
How much original content we would have if that were the truth. But I think
the sad thing about Google is you find out that someone had your idea like 10 years ago, or like the internet in general. Like, oh, that was my idea.
But then in the end, it'll make everything better. That's what I think. I mean, if you adhere to that, like, I'm going to make something new. You have to work really, really, really hard, yeah. But, that's what I kind of like, I tell people that if they have some original idea, like, don't put it all over the internet because someone else will use it, because there's so few, original ideas. So you should, like, covet it. And you do have to work hard a lot of the times to think of stuff, not just like Superman in Turkey, if you want to take the Turkish approach and just make everything like, but to really come up with new different stuff is a big challenge. But I think like if you're not up to the challenge, then why are you trying to take up 2 hours of our time?
Yeah.
But, what's the next question there, Jimmy?
And Turkish E.T. is my favorite of the Turkish movies. Anyway, how long do you let yourself tinker on a screenplay until you finally say, enough, got to make this now?
How about, okay, well, I guess who we have to go through if you finished a screenplay or not, right? For like a screenplay. So I don't want to put him in the spot and be like, I didn't finish a screenplay.
I finished screenplays, so shut up.
So you tell them motherfuckers, James. You tell them.
Well, usually I just go through about like 2 or 3 drafts. I don't tinker too much because by the time I've written the whole screenplay, I'm not really in the mood for coming up with completely new scenes that are going to knock something out off kilter. Usually those 2 additional drafts are to clean up, anything I was too lazy to, build right or just clean up just things that just make no sense.
Because, I guess that's what you want, right? You want the screenplay to just scream like, make me now or kill yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So my screenplays have been telling me to kill myself for a while.
What about you, Kyle? When you get a script or screenplay, have you got one so that it's like, you have to do me... Oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say you have to do me now. You have to make me now.
I would get a paper cut if I heard that. Yeah, no, I mostly do shorts, so I haven't really gone to the long form yet. And I can imagine
short scripts, right? Short scripts, they get their, same thing.
Yeah, I typically do 2 or 3 drafts. Just because I think about things for such a long period of time, I find that that's my rewriting process. Is that by the time I go to the typewriter or word processor. I've already kind of done a lot of that refining in my head. So I typically just do little fixes to make things make more sense. But more often than not, the first draft has enough of an impulse to for me to do it.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody really has 10 drafts. Okay, that's it. It's ready to go out the factory. Right?
Yeah, it's got to be whatever, whenever you feel like, okay, this is good.
And how much, from doing live action, how much leeway do you have to change it? Does it change 50%, 20%, would you say, on average, from the stuff you're shooting?
Well, it depends on your scale. Say, for instance, the feature film that I was working on, it was once you have it, it's done. It's locked. Obviously there are some changes, but to keep everyone working towards the same goal, everyone has to know what the changes are. So things change very little. Whereas when I'm working on a short and it's just I'm the director, editor, cinematographer, etc., I can change whatever I want and will change probably 40% of it just to make it flow better. Take up less time is, I think, the biggest thing that you should be looking for in a script. How can I create the same impression, the same emotion in less time is essentially what it's all about for rewriting.
Some wise words from you, Kyle. What about you, Jimmy? How do you know when it's ready to go, or how many drafts you go through?
As far as animation goes, I usually do 3 drafts or so, but I really never stop because when I'm making the movie, I rewrite a lot of it too because it's animation, so I can change a lot of it. The way I do it is I get all the dialogue first, so I kind of have to finalize that, and I kind of make myself record everyone first so that I can't change the dialogue later. Otherwise, I'd be rewriting it the entire time. So it's just I just try to tinker with it for as long as possible until I get the dialogue the way I want it. And then I can change the events around the dialogue if I need to. And I write a lot of extra stuff too. So in case I need something else, I don't have to go find everyone again. I just have some extra dialogue lying around that I can make new scenes out of.
So I guess, animation scripts are probably more liquid than live action, right? Because you have to synchronize all these people, right, Kyle? And then you can't be changing it on them every day and okay, now you're going to be in a tree or...
Definitely. Well, only when you're working with people, I'd say, a large group, because I know there's some instances on that feature where we just cut a whole scene after it went to the animation floor, which cost thousands of dollars. The scene is animated, it makes sense to cut all that stuff out before you actually start animating it. But you guys are a lot more, the script is more malleable, and I think that's the benefit of working as small or self-contained groups.
Yeah, I think I've gone both ways where I've written scripts where I'm okay, it's done, let's go, make it, do, and then got in the middle of it and then be what am I doing? What is this shit? And then on Heartstring Marionette, I think I did 37 drafts or something, and it was just nitpicking over the smallest things, and when the visuals are such a big part of it, what I do when I start animating, it actually shows me the true story and the true characters. So then I end up going and changing the script a lot. So I'd say 20 of those revisions were just me wasting time, because a lot of when we're doing this stuff, it's we get that I'm not ready yet thought, I'm not ready yet. No. This script isn't ready. I need to edit. I need to change this. This model isn't ready. So I think on the script that I just wrote that might be my next animated feature, I just did it in 3 drafts. Because if it's not there, there's little lines and things you can nitpick off, but like Jimmy said, we can change that right before we shoot it or do that stuff. So, because you don't want to like chew on a script for so long that it's no fun anymore. I mean, you want to be able to, kill the babies, I think, or be objective about it, but you don't want to just like, this is just paper. These are words. Mm-hmm. It's a movie, at least from my perspective. I can't really do that. Like, I have to be excited about it somewhat.
You got me really excited about killing babies.
Okay. Well, I'll make a new episode of my new animated series, Dark-Sided, about killing babies, just for you, James.
Kyle, would you like some more mashed potatoes?
Yeah, what are you guys eating? No. I think you bring up an interesting point. You have to listen to your characters because, like, so much. If you don't listen to those, like your instincts when you're making a film, it just can go so wrong. So I think it's important to be flexible.
Yeah, like they tell you who they are. Like you can write them, and then maybe you write a character. This is what I found. Like in the first third of a movie or a script, and then towards the middle, you actually find out who they really are by just allowing them to speak through you when you're writing. And then I always go back to the beginning and like they wouldn't say this shit. Like who is this person? Mm-hmm. So, but I think that's the most important thing about writing. Like, you just write. Like, what I do is I set a page quota every day. So whether it's like 10 or 15 pages, and I just write it. I don't think about whether it's good or bad or whatever. It's just like, I just have to write. And then you get through the whole thing, you do your best, and then that's when you can like, okay, this scene doesn't really work, and I'll change it around. But I think the most important thing is to write the first draft as fast as you can to just get it out. Because if you don't, you can nitpick off, little parts of it forever. And you have to be able to see the whole thing to, I guess, understand it. So,
yeah, you get there by doing the work. Yeah, that's a very Stephen King way of working. That's really good.
I mean, I may have got that from his book because I read his book on writing.
I love that book. It's awesome.
Except where he was like, I drank so much and did so much coke, I don't remember writing my best books. And I was like, why did you have to say that, Stephen King?
Well, maybe that's the secret, dude.
Yeah.
That's the real secret.
It's the real secret. They don't teach that in film school.
I mean, I drink green tea and coffee and writing. I'm at a coffee shop where there's a lot of cool people. Does that help? But also, I think, like, writing is not glamorous at all. And so it's probably it can be one of the harder, like, it's definitely on your, like, self-discipline, I think, one of the hardest parts of making a film. Because it's so easy to just lie to yourself through it and be like, yeah, this is great, it's done, yeah, this is awesome. And then try to, like, talk people up, because I found I did that too, like, scripts weren't developed, and I just talked them up to people. Yeah, then this happens and this, but then, by pitching it to people too, by lying to them, you change the story, and you're like, oh, wait, that's way better, and then you can go, like, change the script too. So
yeah, that's true. I've seen that happen when I'm pitching people, like, oh, they hate this, and then I'm like, well, how can I make it better really quick?
I think in one of the screenwriting books I read, that was like one of the things you're supposed to do. Is like,
I think it was Blake Snyder's book.
Save the Cat. The Save the Cat, like pitch it, and then just kind of go with. But I mean, that's where you really find the heart of what you're doing is, and even for promotion, like I found, I would try to describe stuff I made to people, and they'd just be like, yeah, and then I just described it in a certain way, and then they're they're so receptive. So pitching rough ideas to people is, I think, something good to do, but.
Yeah, it's all about finding what is it, and that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's awesome. Whoever the marketing people are in Hollywood, or, they're so good at finding that thing. And some people are
Avatar.
Too. In 4D underwater.
With cowboys
underwater. And that's something that I learned. It's like, yeah, you can make some really interesting and unique thing, but if you don't know how to describe it or market it, then. It's going to be lost on everyone except for the people that are under the surface digging for that stuff, Mm-hmm. But they're really nice people, those people that are digging. And so I'd like to thank all of you out there who are digging and found my rare element under the earth that's also used to make anti-gravity craft using Nikola Tesla technology. But
I don't think they're digging anymore. I think they're Redditing.
They're what?
Redditing.
They are? Oh, James, with your internet joke. That was a good one, though. So, let's say, yeah, do you any of the other guys like set page quotas, or how do you decide how long you're going to write for and when it's going to get done and stuff like that, if you do?
I try to set page quotas, but I've never really been able to meet them. So I just end up feeling bad about myself. So I've just been trying to get this one. I've been doing it I've been giving myself to the end of March to finish this, at least the first draft of this new screenplay. So I could at least start, sending it to people and getting who I want to play the voices and all that.
So what stops you? Is it because you just don't have time, you don't do it, or you start writing it and you're just like, this sucks, and you stop for the day, or what stops you from doing it?
I mean, as far as this one goes, it's because this one's like really complicated. Like, it's the most complicated thing I've kind of written, where like everything kind of needs to be in a certain place for it to make sense later. It's just really intricate like that. So the way I've been doing it, like, I've just been writing, and I'll get to a spot, and I'm like, oh shit, like I need to put something here to connect this to other stuff later, and I can't think of what that one little thing is. And I'll get stuck on like a loop right now, just like, what is it? Why is he going to this building that he needs to go to right now? Just something really stupid like that, and I'll just get stuck, and I'm like, well, fuck it. And if I can't write in order, then I won't write anymore for the day. Like I'm like a brat like that, I guess.
Really? Because I'm hitting that same exact thing with what I'm writing right now. It's like, wait, but this contradicts with it, but I just write through it. And then I'll go back and fix it later. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to write some awesome scenes. And then, if once I fix that join later, it should work.
Yeah, and then what I've been doing is when I get stuck like that, I go to the outline. Like, I have the outline in a separate text document, and I start tinkering with that instead. So then I could just write like a whole scene in 2 sentences, because I don't have to worry about what they're saying back and forth. And then that's kind of been helping too. So I'm at page 45 right now, and it's basically that I've done 3 drafts, and I've just been combining the 3 drafts into one. So I'm technically on the 3rd draft right now, 45 pages in. And I'm trying to get it around 90, because I know it's supposed to be like a minute a page, but I tend to be like a minute and a half to 2 minutes a page, I've noticed.
Yeah, I'm sure, with all the crazy visual stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle,
I try not to write most of that out, though. I try to save that for later.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, with the stuff you're doing, are you writing them all, or is it like written in a group, or like how does that work?
Yeah, it's half and half. I'll write a few of them, but we mostly produce the content that other people write. And working with writers is a bit of a dance as well, because you want to respect what they're trying to say and try to bring out the best of what they have. But you also got to make it your own in a way. So it's difficult to kind of respect what they want and what you want at the same time.
When they're like, and then the writer of this very script walks in and a hot chick makes out with him, and you're like, I don't think this really fits in the story.
Yeah, it mostly involves cutting. Like, is this necessary for the audience to understand what's going on? And more often than not, it's not necessary. It just has to go.
Oh, and one thing I thought of when we were talking earlier was that, I think I talked about it last week, but was like this is just my personal philosophy I've adopted, but like my nobody gives a fuck thing. Where it's like before I would write a script and I'd be like, oh yeah, this mysterious guy, he's so awesome and mysterious that I could just have him on screen for like 10 minutes straight and everyone will be so into his mystery and wonder what, and like, and then from doing stuff, I'm just like, nobody gives a shit. So like my approach now to writing is like, I have to give them a reason to shit. They have to give a shit, and it's my job to be like, wait, what are you wondering? Like they talk about, and a lot of things that at the base level filmmaking is question and answer, Who's this guy? Where's he going? Oh, he's going in that cave. Why is he going in that cave? And that's kind of like the base of how to, make people give a shit. So when I write stuff now, that's like in the back of my head because, I've done enough stuff. So it's like I've expressed myself artistically and just done what I wanted. And, I know where I'm at with that. So I'm kind of got away from I'm just going to do what I want and not give a fuck about what anybody thinks. Like I'm, actually trying to write compelling things or make compelling films. So that's how I approach stuff in editing, in writing, and everything. It's like, why should someone give a shit? Because if you don't have that, then it's a hard line, I think.
Oh, definitely. Like the audience wants to participate. You have to kind of give them clues or like kind of let them latch on to something. I always kind of viewed it as a game. Like if they knew the rules of the game, they can kind of play along with your script, but if they don't know what's going on or why they should care about anything or who they should care about, it's a little bit hard for them to invest in the film. And
there's also some intangibles or different things. I mean, just with visual storytelling, I mean, you can create montages and different things. So maybe it's not a literal, like, why should I care? But it has to be something that's engaging or on some level on screen at all times, I think.
Oh, definitely. Have you seen that YouTube film that was all done in a day, the Ridley Scott one?
No, I never saw that one.
It's on YouTube now for free, and it is amazing. It's almost like Baraka. Have you seen that one?
For Mortal Kombat 2? Yeah, his fatality was the one with
And I'm talking about the CinemaScope 75mm one that was like just basically shots of places with music. Yeah, it's like that, but like, yeah, how does that work? Like, there's something resonant about it, and obviously no one knows what that formula is because otherwise it'd be a million films like that. But yeah, you're right. Like, how does that process work? How do you engage with a montage?
I mean, there's something, there's some subconscious stuff or some kind of emotional thing. I mean, that's why I read a bunch of books on, like, visual storytelling. There's, like, this one, Jim Sternako is, like, a comic artist. It's on Amazon. It's called, like, Visual Storytelling. And I thought that one was awesome because it's just telling stories or, with visuals, not about words or dialogue. So, and, I mean, that's at the heart of animation. That's why I think it's so awesome. Like, if you've ever seen, like, like the Brothers Quay or, like, these masters of Russian animation who just do so much without any. I mean, I'm sure their script is like, man walks in a room. It's like,
Yeah.
But it's how he walks in and how it's lit and this, what's going on. And do you guys write sound into your scripts?
Sometimes I do, but it's more just vague than it is specific. Like I just like loud noise here, or loud noise startles character.
Yeah, I guess it's how do you? I guess what I'm getting at, like, why don't you guys go through and tell me about our listeners? How do you visualize your film while it's still in your head? Can you hear it, see it, read it? Do you have words? You have pictures? You have everything? So, Jimmy Screamer Claus, we start with you.
How do I see it while I'm writing it?
Yeah, does it have sounds? Is it pictures? Is it faces? Is it lines?
Yeah, I can usually see it in my head, and I can usually see kind of what the characters will look like, and I try to match them as best as I can. Voices are hard for me to picture because I don't really know what I'm looking for as far as that goes. So I just try to find wacky actors and have them just like invent something crazy for this. Sound wise, I can hear the music sometimes. Like I can hear how I want to score it. I don't really think much in sound effects though, because a lot of my stuff is I don't have a whole lot of sound design sometimes. So I could just voiceover on top of weird music and stuff like that.
What about you, James? Because I know you're taking a new approach to storyboarding, and so I'm just wondering,
Well, when I initially visualized my movie, it's almost like a vision. Like I kind of get lost in it, and then once it's over, it's like, what the fuck did I just experience? And I have to kind of come up with something. So what I normally do is, after I come up with an idea or I've been lost in an idea, I try to draw it, because trying to put it to words, I feel like it's not quick enough and it's not precise enough. I don't, as far as sound design, I really don't have any of that when I'm, thinking of something. If I do, I can't translate it to film. And as far as music, usually the music is just tracks I've heard. So I haven't really been able to, like, when I did stuff for Binding of Isaac and Super Meat Boy, I actually had a composer. I was like, I would actually send him tracks. And it's like, I was thinking of this track when I was thinking of this, and he would actually try to come up with something original that had the kind of feel that I was trying to go for.
What about you, Kyle? How much do you see or hear or envision when you're writing stuff or coming up with ideas?
Well, I pretty much see like the film, and it's never what the film really looks like. I've kind of abandoned the idea that it's going to look like what it looks like in my head, and that's important, I think. But I don't hear music. That's like the only thing about it that's not like the finished project. I actually see cuts. I see, medium close up, wide shot, punching on this. Like I literally see it as a movie, but I don't hear music, strangely enough.
Yeah, because what I'm wondering is, once you've gone through the production, the standard production process so many times, like outline, script, storyboard, animatic, film, or whatever in those steps that you're doing, it's like, is that the natural way for us to express ourselves, or do we just force ourselves onto this template? Because I'm the same way. It's like, I think in, slug lines and action and dialogue, and that seems totally natural to me. And I put, I think of the sounds and write those in there too. But because I know I was talking to you, James, about storyboarding or script writing, and the normal way just didn't make sense to you, and so you started doing your own way. And I think, a lot of people out there, if you're making your own films, doing your own stuff, that you shouldn't feel you have to stick to whatever way. It's like whatever way works for you. If you're drawing comic books of it first, or bubbles or whatever, that's, what works. But there is the template, and that works for some people, but not all.
It kind of seems strange that, like, in a very visual format that we kind of we start with, like, oh, let's make a script, something that isn't visual. So, like, in my case, I have to draw. It's like, all right, well, I have an idea for a movie. The first thing I think is, oh, visual. So I draw what comes to mind, and then I make sense of it later.
Yeah, I guess
that's really interesting. Yeah,
I guess the thing. I mean, I don't know the history of the screenplay or something, but I'm sure it has something to do with the location breakdowns and just being able to look at it, on this paper and know how many locations there are and what takes place where. Because if you just had that on a storyboard, it would be hard. You can break down a script into all the different things.
Well, isn't the origins of the screenplay just the origins of, a
play or something?
Yeah, so, like, they can't necessarily say, you're going to look at this, or this is what the set's going to be. You have people, and you have to give the raw material for people to make that play for you. Whereas with film, you can kind of just start from the get-go.
Yeah, and I guess, do you use those, Kyle, like this different scene breakdowns, like, just the actors, like, sides and stuff like that, and location breakdowns? Do you use that kind of stuff?
I don't really. I imagine if I did a longer form, I would have to. Well, I do break it down, but I never use the built-in software for it.
Yeah.
I just kind of know, here's an Excel spreadsheet, who needs to be where, because that kind of aspect can get really confusing. So it has its value. Back to kind of what you were saying before, James, about the going into, like, from a vision to a script to a vision again. My friend Tarek told me to do something very interesting for my film. He said, why not do it as a completely different medium than you're used to doing? Like, I'm used to writing scripts, but I was considering for my feature film, what if I do like a radio play or like some kind of audio version of it, or like a comic book, and then try to adapt that into a film? Like, that's kind of an interesting idea to, like, get away from the script.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, why do we use scripts? Like, I mean, I use them, I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just like, is it an artifact from, a past process? Especially if we're making films alone, do we still need them? I guess is the stuff you're doing right now, James, I guess that's an experiment, right?
And it's an experiment, and it's actually, I don't know, I feel, even though I don't have anything that's an end product from this experiment yet, I feel much more proud of what I'm coming up with. I mean, I think what I'm coming up with is truer to who I am than just coming up with a story that makes sense and, log lines and characters and everything. I feel like I'm making stories that I want to see rather than making stories that are how other people would dissect movies, or I guess digest movies.
Yeah. Maybe
like
we should...
I'm thinking more for my enjoyment rather than other people's, like, interpretations of the film, or how they can kind of follow along.
How about we bring up something that we think is the hardest part of writing a screenplay or a script, and then we'll discuss possible solutions, therefore sharing with each other and the world. Jimmy Screamer Claus, what's the toughest thing for you?
The toughest thing about screenwriting for me, I have a lot of problems with, like, the tedious dialogue. Like, just I get bored of doing that.
So cut it out.
Well, I mean, sometimes you need it though. Like, sometimes you need to have a scene with just people sitting at a table talking about their day or whatever, so you can have you can get into character and stuff like that. But just it's so tedious and boring that it's just sometimes I'll just write interrogation scene here or table scene here, and I'll just go back and do it later when I'm not so antsy to get onto something else. But the toughest part, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that.
So it's just
Sorry.
So smooth sailing, it's so easy for you, unlike
it's just,
us.
Everything's just so great and awesome. And I mean, really, I guess just the discipline of actually just sitting down and doing it. That could be kind of tough. And I guess I have trouble with endings sometimes too. Like always feel like I need to have like a big extravagant ending, and then sometimes I just go for a vaguer one instead. And I don't know. I go back and forth over which one's better.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest problem I'm having right now is just figuring out how to connect everything together, how to make sure that all the shit I set up in the beginning was paid off at some point. Yeah, and all the mysteries are the bulk of the mysteries are unraveled anyway, enough to make it, make sense.
Yeah, for what I do to help that is, like, after I finish writing, if I stopped or just hit the quota, then I have a little notebook, and then I write all the questions in the screenplay. Like, wait, how am I supposed to do this? Or I need some more urgency here, or I need to do that. And then the rest of the day, I just kind of have those in my head, or try to work them out so that the next day when I write, like, you have some answer or something. That's what I kind of try to do for that. Like, chew on them, in your mind.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I never really read like a whole lot of screenwriting books or anything like that, so I just made up how to like do this. Like, I don't know.
Read them. I read them all and they suck.
Really, just don't even bother. I did find this one thing that's called Screenwriting Tips You Hack, and it's just a Tumblr page, and every day they post like a 1-sentence or 2-sentence little screenwriting tip. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's screenwritingtips.tumblr.com.
Yeah, I think I talked about that in a past podcast or somewhere. That I read like
really?
I think I read like 40 books. I got like all of them. And then after I read all of them, and I was like, okay, there's this method and this technique and this and that. And then I looked at the movies that I really loved, and none of them used any of the techniques or whatever that they tried to reverse engineer from these books. And none of the people who wrote the books wrote any good films or any films that I liked. So I was like, it's good to know, but, these guys know how to sell books and make money with workshops.
And it's like I remember reading like one general filmmaking book that said something like, you're supposed to take your favorite movies and figure out what the 3 acts would be, like the 3 plot points that make up the 3-act structure. And it says something like in the book, don't worry if you and your friends have 3 completely different points, because some movies have more than the regular amount. It's just like, then why are you telling people only to do 3 if people aren't even going to be able to identify which ones are the right ones?
Because then you'll get confused at my $500 workshop that you're going to buy my book.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle? What's the biggest challenge for you, screenwriting-wise or writing?
Well, I'd say the hardest part for me is making it about one thing, because I kind of want to go in a lot of different directions, and I feel like that just makes for a really muddy kind of movie. I mean, it's interesting, but I just want to refine it to make it about like one thing,
Yeah.
That's a good point. I have a problem with that too.
Are they
trying to cram too much in?
Maybe they're like more than one film, maybe those ideas are like 4 films or something.
Yeah, that's very possible. And it's very hard to cut that stuff out, but that's what needs to happen, I think, to make a successful film.
What about you, James?
The problem I have is finding ways to kind of, what the fuck is the word, economize my script. Like, maybe I don't need a crowd of people for a scene. Maybe I need like 2 people, or maybe I could reuse a character instead of having this one character that shows up once. I could reuse a character that was in later the script for this part. Like, how can I pare things down so I'm not making more work for myself if it's not necessary?
I think that comes through like conditioning and programming yourself. So writing a script with a bunch of people and then trying to animate it or make it, and then feel the pain and alienation and humiliation. And then when you go write another one, if you even come up with the idea in your head, you're like, ugh, and then you just won't even think of it. That's been my experience.
Like putting your hand on the stove.
Yeah.
I get it.
With Robotic Holy War, I've had like, the first draft had like hundreds of characters, and then the second draft is like, all right, well, let me say that like let me cut out all these characters and have this one character do all those parts.
Yeah, like I make a joke where like after, animating Heartstring Marionette with like 45 characters and all these sets, and I'm like, next movie, I'm just going to have one character standing still in one room. Yep, I'm going to keep it simple. No more of this location.
90 minutes.
Yeah, no more of all this bullshit. Like one guy, one room, standing still.
Not speaking.
No.
Nothing.
Visual storytelling masterpiece.
Rendered at 4K.
No, dude, 360p.
All one shot. Camera doesn't even move.
Well, that's funny, dude, because I guess I have a more common writing problem. My biggest problem screenwriting is sitting still to do it.
Yeah.
Like, not being distracted. Like, that's my problem. If I sit for like 2 hours or an hour or whatever and write, I'll write and I'll force me. Even if I hit an obstacle, I'm just like, I'll grind on it until I overcome it. But my problem is just sitting down to write. So, like, I try, if I can, I go to like a coffee shop or something and I don't ask for the Wi-Fi password. So I have no internet and I take like headphones, so I block out all sound, and just that's my problem. Is not like I'm some master screenwriter or whatever, because I'm not. But for me, I figure if you put the time into it and keep grinding at it and use your resources, you can overcome any script problem. But for me, it's just the actual the old school alcoholic problem of writing. Like, I need to get drunk to write because I'm scared.
I feel the same way about animation. Like, I could write something and complete it. It's like, oh, that's fine. And then when it's animating, I'm like, why does this hurt so much?
I think that's a very good point about the internet, though. Like, I find when I shut off the internet, I get so much more done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's that Mac. I know there's one for Apple where it's like it'll block out every other program and like disable your internet for like half an hour or whatever you set it, so you can't even do it if you want to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, it's an awesome resource because you're like, oh, research. Oh, yeah, I'm going to write about this vampire guy. Oh, who is the vampire? Blah, blah, blah. And then you get into Wikipedia and all this shit, and then it's like, oh, wait, I'm just reading about things for 20 minutes.
That happens to me all the time. Like, when I feel like I'm not prepared enough and I do the research, yeah, you're right, it's just circle spinning. But, research is important. I think it's good to do that all in, like, one block or something, maybe.
Yeah, the problem I find with research, and I think Stephen Pressfield, the guy who wrote The War of Art, and what's his new one, Do the Work, he talked about it in his last book about research and how research can be a trap. To think that I need to do more research and more research and more research. And I think my experience is like, I like doing a ton of research, but then the research stops. And you're like, no more research, now write. Mm-hmm. And if you really hit something, some wall, like, okay, I need research, but other, you can just keep going back into that circle of like more research. And I think it's that I'm not ready fear,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not ready to write a book about boats. I need to live on a boat for 2 years. But this boat had an engine. I need a rowboat.
Like writing sound, like background sound, that screws me up a lot too. Because I'll sit there like picking a song for like an hour. Like, no, I need writing music.
Oh,
and then I'll find one. I'm like, all right, I got 5 minutes. I'll write for 5 minutes and I'm like, fuck, it's over. Then I gotta go find another one.
I'll find that one and I'll just put it on repeat and listen to the same song for hours.
I do that too. That's why I wear headphones now, because it drives my roommates crazy.
Yeah, that's why I just put headphones on. Like, and a couple times I've been caught at the coffee shop writing and I forget my headphones and I'm like, oh no, hipster conversations in my head. Oh god, no, get out of my mind. I'm trying to think about some cool post-apocalyptic landscape. Not Facebook and fixies. Get off me. So yeah, definitely distractions, getting the distractions out. But then maybe some people write better with like sound or something around.
Well, I have to have sound. It's just I get very picky about the sound. Like I can't sit in silence. It won't work.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. Unless you're locked in some room with solitary confinement.
And what Kyle said before about just trying to cram too much into one screenplay, that is a big problem that I have too. I should probably just split them up into other movies or something. But then I feel like this is going to be the last movie I ever get to make. I got to do as much as possible now. I got to have 4 or 5 plot lines going on. I'll never get to make them if I don't do it now.
God damn it, you're right. I better do that too.
Instead of making 3 movies, I better just make all 3 at once.
And then on the DVD, I'll have multiple angles, and you can watch all 3 films at the same time, cut in from each other. And
well, that's the thing with animation, though. It's like sometimes it takes a year or 3 to make one movie, so it's like you got to really be committed to it.
Oh god damn it, you do.
Definitely.
That's why you got to love your script, because if you just kind of like it, and then if you commit to making it, it's like you got married. You're contractually obligated and you can't get out. So before you marry that script and go into production, you better make sure you love it, because
or you just start cheating on it with some floozy movie.
Yes.
Baby,
I get that too, where like I start working on something and like I don't want to work on this. I want to work on something else.
Yeah, your inner rebel, right? It like rebels against her own project.
It sucks.
Well, that's kind of what happened to me because, to finish Heartstring Marionette, it's taking forever because of the music. So I'm like, I'm going to do this stupid badass thing that means nothing. It's like, it doesn't have any deeper meaning. It's just stupid. Yeah, unlike the Heartstring Marionette. Yeah. And then I had to rebel against that. I'm going to make this dark side. It's not even funny at all. It's really fucked up. But my philosophy has always been, it doesn't matter how much you have to rebel against yourself, like as long as you keep making stuff. Even if you're like, yeah, fuck you to yourself, but as long as you keep putting shit out, then it's good stuff.
Yeah, don't let it be self-defeating, I guess.
Yeah, and that's probably what happens to a lot of people. So they're like, fuck you, okay.
Yeah.
So screenwriting, script writing. What about, how do you know when a script's done? Because it hits page 90?
Well, we kind of had that question earlier, didn't we?
When it's done?
Yeah. I guess. It gets to a certain length and you really can't make it any longer. Otherwise you'd have a 4-hour movie.
Because it killed everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's dead. There's really nothing else going on. Like, all right, time to write some credits.
Yeah, in the script I'm doing right now, I'm like killing everybody off right now. I was like, oh yeah, this guy's tragic, heartwarming death. Okay, now it's your turn for your death. Yeah.
See, that should be the third act. Just everyone's dead.
Yeah, maybe we need to come up.
Movie's about the worms now.
Yeah, we need to come up with our new structure where, it's about the decay and, the new life that comes through the decaying bodies of the protagonists.
Yeah, we introduce all new characters in the last 10 pages.
The worms. But I mean, all that stuff is left up into the open. And, someone will write a new script in a new way and a new thing and really flip. Because, fucking movies are 100 years old? Cinema is like... Cinema with sound is like not that old, so there's still so much to be done and so much to be invented and explored. And you, my friends, are those explorers that will, because my time is over.
The end of M. Strange live on podcast.
No, goddammit, I have plenty more movies than me.
He slits his wrist and just blocks of 8-bit just comes out. 8-bit blood.
I believe pixels, man. So, I guess in a future show we'll do what? Storyboarding? How to visualize your idea?
There was a question related to that. If we,
to storyboarding?
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to have an episode every step of filmmaking. So one for writing, storyboard, animatic, concept art / pre-production, animating, editing, solely or sound / Foley, etc. Are you planning anything like this?
And then hating yourself and feeling pathetic because no one watches your movie and didn't make any money. We'll just all mope.
I don't see that part in the question.
We'll play like some emo music in the back that's all drony and we'll just mope. Man. And we'll watch Official Rejection. How about that, Jimmy?
Yes! Official Rejection screening.
Yeah, I watched it again this week.
See, it's getting into your brain now, bro.
We were watching Johnny Montana or whatever his name was. What was
I love that. Yeah, and I think that's the name of his movie. I don't remember his name, but I think the movie was Johnny Montana.
Kyle, have you seen Official Rejection?
I saw the trailer after you guys talked about it, and it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's the funniest thing in the universe. I really am though. Like it's not even like a joke. I just really am upset. I'll put it on sometimes, like once a week, and I'll just let it play in the background and laugh to myself. Nobody really understands.
A couple episodes of the podcast down, we'll use that sync tube and we'll watch it all together with people who listen to the podcast.
Yeah, there we go.
We should do that. It'd be like a film school thing. But do we have any more screenwriting questions, or is that all of them? That's all of them.
That's all the screenwriting questions. We have a lot of general questions, though.
Oh, we do. Mm-hmm. Do you want to stay on, Kyle, as we answer these questions, or do you have to go on to the producing of the Megasteakman media?
I would love. This is the best thing I could be doing right now.
Right.
I'd love to stay.
Let's do this shit.
Okay.
Hopefully they're controversial and explosive.
I hope one of them might be.
Oh,
I don't know.
Shit. I'm scared. Don't read it.
Actually, maybe can I sign up?
Runs away once it starts getting dark. All right, so I'm getting into Blender right now. Do you have any experiences to share? I've never used Blender, so I don't. Do any of you guys?
I tried it, and because open source is awesome, and it would be sweet to use. And then I tried it, and it was just so antithetical to all the 3D that I've done. I was just like, ow, and I quit after like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it has like a really steep learning curve since like the user interface is just like we're going to do something completely different, and you're going to have to learn the hotkeys and do anything. So.
What about you, Kyle? You must have done Blender, right? You're the one. You're the messiah of Blender.
I checked it out, and I didn't understand it, so I just didn't use it. I think it's important for a tool that you know how to, like, it's understandable to you, like it's comprehensible.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that, right? Every 3D application is like a language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't speak Blender. Like, I want to learn it, but when I went in there, I was just like, huh? You know, like, I can go in Maya and screw around in 3D Studio Max and Lightwave and Softimage and Cinema 4D, but for some reason, Blender was just like, wait, what? So,
yeah.
But I planned, like, I want to actually learn Blender and switch to Blender because I was like, oh, sweet. Then, you know, you can make films with the Blender Foundation, and they already have all those people that are into it, and you'll have, like, their programmers supporting you and all that shit. So I'm, like, stoked about that, but I haven't had time to learn it yet. So,
all right, then.
Did we have another question since we're all non-Blender?
I guess that one covers the Blender. This is the one that could sort of go dark. Maybe we shouldn't even answer these, but
what is it?
It would also be great to hear what moments in each of your lives have been strange, emotional, cathartic, or out of body, and how you use your art to relive and communicate some of these moments with others. This podcast is thoroughly entertaining. Keep it up.
How about you answer that first, James? Because I think you're not there anymore. Oh shit, James is still here. This is gonna be dark. This is gonna be dark.
I don't know.
My experience was when I met James.
And you had an out-of-body experience right then and there?
No, sorry.
I was in his body, so.
Oh.
I really don't understand the question. But partly because, Jimmy, you were breaking up as you were saying it, so it's like spiritual, out of body.
I guess what they were saying is that, have we ever had an experience where we had some crazy ass shit going on?
I want to hear our fucked up life stories, Dan.
And we're able to, like, channel it through a film or a project, and yeah.
I haven't been able to channel any of that stuff yet. The one thing I want to channel is I experimented with lucid dreaming, and causing your body to hallucinate while you're awake is really fucked up when you're not on any, like, substance. Like, if you're just going, oh, well, it's time to hallucinate, and your body actually does it, it's really fucked up, and you come up with really frightening things doing it, and you're never the same afterwards. I would like to take the experiences I have from doing that, and put them in my movies, especially horror movies.
What about you, Kyle? You have any experiences like that? Films?
Well, I'd like to. One of my favorite films is The Holy Mountain, and just like, where do you have to go to kind of get those kind of visions? Like, maybe we should ask you, Jimmy. Like, your stuff is like amazing. It's like watching a nightmare, and I don't know, like, how did you come up with that? Like,
well, Kyle, Jodorowsky said that he got all his visions for that movie because he opened up his asshole and the gods entered him through his anus.
Oh, yeah, I remember that chapter. Yeah, like that's the psycho magic, right?
Yeah. So you need to open up your ass to the gods.
So that was like a giant dildo covered in peyote he was talking about.
Yeah,
probably. But I think it's like a cathartic moment for me is just watching my film on a big screen with a lot of people, and like when I hear them gasp at the right moment or laugh at the right moment, that's a bit of a trippy experience for me.
It makes you feel like a god, doesn't it, Kyle?
It kind of does, but like not really in the sense that like I'm also afraid because I can't control what's happening. Even though like I've already made it, it's kind of like out of my hands, and it's kind of like this really scary feeling. Like, will they accept what happens next? And but yeah, it's like this really weird split attention kind of thing that happens, and I can't really explain the fact that that's probably the most spiritual aspect for me is watching it with other people and then kind of being part of that experience.
What about you, Jimmy Screamer Claus?
I mean, I got lots of crazy life stories I could go on with, but I don't know if it's the right podcast for that. But as far as putting them into a movie, I've never really put too many personal things or anything into my movies, just because, I don't know, I just don't really write that way, I guess. I definitely put, like, mushroom experiences into movies and stuff like that before, though. I mean, I don't know, without turning into long, weird stories from my troubled youth, I don't really know how to answer this question.
Well, I know how to answer it perfectly.
Yes.
The answer is
Enlighten
4.
us.
The answer is 4. No, so pretty much, I guess, if that person will check out my B-book, I talk about how I come up with my ideas and how I deal with all my negative experiences or things in my life that I don't think are right or fucked up or whatever. So what I usually do is take those experiences, those things about myself, and embody them into a character or a different aspect of a character, and then run them through the rigors in a film. And it's not only like me learning about myself or my experiences and how I dealt with them or how I might deal with them. I think, it's like Joseph Campbell talked a lot about, mythology and how we've been using this old mythology forever and it doesn't apply to us anymore because, the world's changed. So it's like, I think something you can do with art and films, it's like your own personal mythology. These are your trials and tribulations that you've gone through, and you can put them in form. It's not directly me, it's this animated character or you, as like kind of food for thought or an example or a myth from other people to look at, maybe learn from, maybe it's a horrible warning, whatever. So I do that with every movie I make. If the movie doesn't have something like that that's cathartic, whatever, then I don't really feel like making it. So every time I do that, it's kind of like people, if they can get, nobody really gets that. Like some woman who was like a Jungian psychologist saw We Are the Strange and like told me all about my whole life and my family and like all this shit from watching that movie. Like knew nothing about me, and I was like, oh, because I guess if you put that stuff in yourself in the film, then someone can like reverse engineer it. But I guess the best moment from doing that is just like, you see, maybe you watch it and like, yeah, maybe I'm not so bad. And if other people can be inspired by it or learn or it helps their experience, then that's totally worth it. So there's I'm Not Strange with a totally serious answer.
Woo!
I respect that greatly. I think that film as therapy is a great idea. And I'd like to explore that avenue more fully in my future.
Yeah, because I think, it's kind of the best therapy for anything. It's like, you got this problem, do art, create, put it in that. Like, there's an outlet for all kinds, For me, it's like, of course, I'm not a doctor. If someone comes bleeding, I'm like, make a film! But for, like, psychological or emotional stuff, I think, making a film or doing that kind of thing is really good for people.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
All right.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have quite a few more, actually.
Oh, shit.
Have any of you ever seen the 2011 film called The Woman? I haven't seen that one, but I like Lucky McKee's other movie, May. It's the same director.
No. Who made it?
Oh, I loved May. It was awesome.
Lucky McKee is his name. He made the movie May. The Woods was another movie he made. I never saw that one, though.
What's his name?
Lucky McKee.
Lucky McKee. No, I haven't seen any of his films. I'll have to check those out.
May's like a horror movie about this girl who's trying to build herself a friend, so she steals a bunch of parts from other people.
Really? That sounds awesome.
It's pretty sad. It's a good movie, though. Next question. How do/have your relatives reacted to your work? I never really showed my parents like my action. They know, like my mom knows that I make these movies and stuff. And I've always told her, I was like, you don't want to watch it, Mom. So then I send her the reviews. I'm like, here's some reviews of the movie. I'm like, you shouldn't watch it. So then she writes back stuff like, I'm really proud of you, Jimmy. You want me to send you to film school for your birthday? I was like, Mom. I was like, Mom, like 10 years ago, sure, but plus it's not like a day trip I could take. So, and B, you can't afford it. So no, Mom, I don't want film school for my birthday, but thank you. So I sent my Butch's Harem video to my Uncle Bob, and he told me it should be shown in preschools, and he liked how the blood looked under the light or something like that. Some psychobabble.
Sweet.
So yeah.
What about you, Kyle? Has your family seen your stuff? They dig it?
Yeah, they're very supportive, and they think it's very funny, and they send it to their friends. So I mean, I don't do things of such a controversial nature, but I don't know, they're very supportive.
Yeah, my family gave up on trying to influence me or tell me what to do on my stuff years ago. Like at first, it'd be like, why don't you do it a little bit more like this, or do that, or this, and then no, why would I make my films? No. And then so now they're just like, yeah, it's very nice. And then inside, I know they're like, oh, sometimes. Or maybe they're not, I don't know. But Yeah, actually, like, my mom's seen pretty much, she saw We Are the Strange. She actually wears a button from Blue from We Are the Strange on her sweater, like, everywhere she goes. So, and I think my brother and my little niece and nephew, yeah, there was a point in time when I first started doing my Blue Wander series, which is on the We Are the Strange DVD, and I posted on my blog, and, like, the only people that watched it was, like, my 6 and 7-year-old niece and nephew. So pretty much, like, they were my audience for, like, a long time, for maybe, like, a year, and I was making it for them. And I think my family would be afraid or tripped out by my stuff more, but they know that I'm sane and I haven't killed anybody. So they're like, I guess it's not so bad or something, or I don't really know. But yeah, my family supports me too in the stuff I make, but that's also caused me to censor myself in the past, because I'm like, my family's going to see it. So, but thanks. I'd like to thank Jimmy Screamerclaws. Thanks to being friends with Jimmy Screamerclaws and a fan of his work, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to censor myself anymore. Because if Jimmy Screamerclaws is going to hell, then so am I.
I was gonna say the last movie of mine that I showed my mom was a video I made of my friend vomiting, and it was on Mother's Day, and she threw up. That was the last time she watched any of my movies.
So the people are out there that are wondering, why I'm making Dark-Sided, and, they'll see some stuff. It's because of my being influenced by Jimmy Screamerclaws.
You mean until I get arrested? Yeah, until I get arrested for something else. No, I don't want to do this anymore.
They'll be like, "What happened to Them Not Stranger Stuff? Had that childlike heart and hope and all this stuff." Fuck that.
Met hopeless Screamerclaws and his life took a turn.
But it's so much fun.
James, did James answer yet?
No.
No, I didn't answer because you guys were too busy talking about your awesome stuff. I showed my family my earlier videos, but my mom said my videos are sick, and now my brothers make fun of my videos every time I see them during holidays, so I stopped showing them.
You just wait, James, till you win an Oscar in the Hollywood, and they won't laugh at you anymore. Right?
Well, they might laugh at me when they find me in the hospital with that Oscar up my ass.
Just don't do that, then. Win it and put it on the shelf. Keep it out of your body cavity.
How can I help myself? I need to do that.
James, you need to keep these things out of your body cavity. We told you last show.
Just because it fits in there, James, doesn't mean it has to go in there.
I've lost so many tablet pens that way.
Just because you want to freak out the x-ray technician at the emergency room, that's not a good enough reason.
Look, James, just come over.
I'm on a first name basis with the x-ray technician.
James, just come over, and I'm going to take a marker. I'm just going to mark the part of your body that you're not allowed to put things into. And it'll make it really, really helpful for you.
Put an X.
I'll draw Mr. Yucks all over it.
Jimmy, at a certain point, that marker is going to disappear.
Well, here's another little story for that. It's not family, but when I was, like, in junior college, we used to make all these little live-action skits with my friends, and one of my friends took the video and showed it to the psychology teacher, who, like, we all had, and the guy just said, "You guys are sick. You guys need help. Like, you guys are really sick." Like, he was really concerned. He said that we were sick and we really needed help. But we just thought it was funny, so we didn't listen to him. So if you know you're not crazy and you're not sick, just keep doing it, right?
Right.
So I'll keep on stuffing stuff in my ass.
No, don't do that.
James,
that's bad.
I told you, we're going to park it. If there's a Mr. Yuck, do not go near.
Is there more questions?
Yes, there's more questions.
Shit, we're popular now. What happened? Did we blow up?
We totally did. Well, actually, it's more like there's like two people asking 5 questions.
Oh, dude, you just blew it. I just thought we were popular for once.
Great podcast, Master Dot. Talking about time-consuming tasks, I would like to know, how do you guys solve the lip sync? Is there any equivalent in Cinema 4D to Toon Boom where you can make 7 mouth positions and the software reads and assigns the shapes, or do you do it by hand?
Oh, we'll animate. We'll get this, bitch. We'll get this one, right, Jimmy Screamerclaws? We got this in the bag. So, for my way, when I'm doing Badassery or Dark-Sided, I made like a little thing with MoGraph to do automatic lip sync, which you can download from one of my tutorials if you just search through my tutorials on my blog. And so for those, I use this cheap automated procedural method where it just uses the amplitude the volume of the audio file to open and close the mouth. But for a heartstring marionette in my serious projects, I do it by hand using morph sliders. So I use Cactus Dan's morph slider, which is it has like a 4-position morph interface. So you have 4 morphs that you're mixing, and so I keep it pretty simple. But I do that stuff by hand. But I'm not going for photorealistic humans. If I did, I'd have to use more morph targets. But I'm doing simple, so yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I use Mimic because that's with the poser. It automatically does it for you. You just put in a WAV file pretty much, and you can tune it. You can like tweak it and everything. So it's like the way it works is you take the WAV file and then you type out the actual text in a text document, and you load both of them and the character in the Mimic. And it does some sort of something where it automatically does the lip sync for you. And then you just go in there and you can tweak it. You can move like the T shape to where if it misses it or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty simple for me.
What about you, Kyle? You do any lip sync stuff, character animation?
Not typically. I'll just use morphs and kind of like a puppet, just like open, close, open, close. I don't really do anything complex, no.
Yeah, right? Because unless that's where I think about it. It's like, do the puppet style or like photorealistic human, super realist. Don't get caught in between. Because that in-between just looks crap. And it's like, it doesn't look like you're trying to do crap. But if you do a puppet, it's like, obviously it's not trying to look real, so. What about you, James? You mess with those characters' mouths in ways that we hope you don't?
Yes, I mess with those mouths in ways that are not.
Oh, I shouldn't have lobbed that softball to you. I'm sorry.
Those sweet polygonal.
Come on, be a bigger person. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, I am a bigger person.
Pass the beat, Kyle.
So,
I've become a bigger person over the course of this podcast.
So you did morphs too, right, James?
Yeah, I'm doing morphs. I'm using, I made my own. You know what I did? I made morphs and then I made sliders that control those morphs, so that I can, when I'm lazy, do exactly what you did, MDOT, just in a little bit more complicated way.
Yeah.
Where I just play the animation, I record the position of this slider or this object, and that corresponds to the morphs.
Yeah, and I think what the dude is talking about, he's talked about Toon Boom, and so that's like the way that you could do it in Poser too. I think it has it, maybe Daz, like it has the phenomes or the phonoms, like the different mouth shapes that are, like O, M, N, P for facial to do lip sync. And you could do that in Cinema 4D, like if you just made a morph for every letter or every phenome or phonom. And then you could just use sliders and have them all. Or if you wanted to do it like replacement animation, you could put all the different heads or mouths in like a MoGraph cloner and set it to 1 with no, and then use the offset to change between the mouth shapes and like keyframe that. You could do that too. But there's a bunch of different ways. But I think no matter what, if you're going for realistic, it's going to take forever and slow down everything. So I don't really want to do that. That's why in Heartstring Marionette, they all wore masks like 98% of the time, because lip sync is, you have to be really good at it to make it look realistic on a realistic model. So yeah, lip sync
was a huge problem on the feature film that I was working on. It's very difficult to do it realistic, you're right, because it's not just that you have to have each phoneme at exactly the right time, but when we're talking, if you actually hit every single phoneme, it looks weird in animation. So you have to actually kind of like know what syllables to drop. Really weird stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so easy to make it look wrong, and since we look at people talk every day, we're so finicky about how it looks. So, but that's, again, if you're not using, maybe if you're using some monsters or freak characters or something that doesn't speak normally, it gives you a little more leeway. But if you're doing humans, then it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions?
Yes. Next question is, in what ways have your work habits shifted since you started the Forever Alone podcast? As in, have you taken any advice, work habit suggestions, plugins, etc.?
Well, I don't listen to you guys, so I haven't changed my work.
Okay, then.
And he's gone. When we first started the podcast, I think I had just finished the Butcher's Harem video like a few days before that. So I haven't really done any big projects since we started. I've been mainly rearranging my studio and looking into buying some new render computers, trying to sell off some old stuff, and writing a lot. So, but you guys have definitely made me want to use ZBrush more and play around with some of the actual like rigging tools and modeling stuff like that. So in that aspect, definitely.
Yeah, for me, I downloaded Daz and was like, yeah, fuck, if I'm just going to make these stock models look like models I can just download, that are free or modify. So I started looking back into that workflow, like, using 3D models, not like being a super 3D geek, like, I need to model everything from scratch. And, so I started looking more at that, like talking to Jimmy Screamer Claus and stuff on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I brought you down a level, really.
Well, if I can make stuff faster, no. Well, it's kind of like...
How was your work habit shifted?
I think I need to start using Connect. I'm really inspired by just the idea of motion capture, although I know motion capture is a bit of an issue. Like, it always looks like motion capture. But James, you have some interesting ideas of using motion capture not for the intended purpose of like a human, but like, say, a tentacle or some like a flower. Like, what if you just use the motion of a person for something weird? It's kind of an interesting idea.
I didn't actually expect you to have a real answer, but that was good.
And after you get all your cameras set up, right, we're gonna do another like Connect motion capture episode after you have the holy grail of ghetto mocap up in there.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for one more part.
I'd love to hear that. I'd like to see what you guys have going on for that.
Yeah, me too. Because I want to get into it too. So everyone's looking at you, Jimmy Screamer Claus. Everybody's waiting. Pressure.
I was reading the manual again for IPI Studio, and they don't have anything set up for the Cinema 4D rigs yet. They have like for every other rig, but not Cinema 4D. Because if they would have had it for the new R13 rig, I'd probably just switch to that and not even have to use Poser much anymore.
Why are they hating? But,
well, I get the manual. They have every program broken down, and then you get to the Cinema 4D. It's like, click here to add the Cinema 4D wiki part to the manual or something like that. It's like, oh, somebody's done it yet.
Oh. Tight.
But that's just that program. There might be another one that works.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, there's a couple different plugins that popped up that let you bring Connect stuff right into Cinema 4D, but I don't have a Connect, so I've only been able to fantasize about them, here and there.
They're only like $70 now if you buy them used.
My fantasy's coming closer to reality.
Something interesting about the Connect. Oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I saw this video on YouTube. I think if you search for Connect in AE, you can do like 2D character animation with it.
Really? Like someone made a plugin
check
or something?
It out. It's using several plugins. And it looks pretty good. The problem is that they have to face forward, like the characters can't really be profile or 3/4 or whatever. But it was very smooth motion, and if you're doing something quick and you don't really want to animate, that looked like a great solution.
Yeah, right. You think all they'd have to do is like tie the Connect to like the puppet tool?
Exactly, that's what they do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, I think we talked about in future episodes we'll have a storyboarding, animation, whatever. We'll do the various aspects of filmmaking. But me and Screamer Claus were talking about having like a Cinema 4D special episode where what we'll do is that like I'll have my desktop like doing screen cap video or whatever, and then I'll answer questions from people who leave comments or whatever, like some Cinema 4D or ZBrush or whatever, they know what programs I use, like specific technical whatever questions. And if Screamer Claus or James, whoever's on the show, has any questions, like I'll try to answer them or do the shit they're asking me to do live. And then when we put out the podcast, it'll be an audio version, and you can download the screen cap video to see exactly what I was doing. So that's something we're doing too. So maybe we could help some people with their Cinema 4D or their 3D. So if you guys have any things like, how do you do that? Like, then it'll put me on the spot, and I'll have to show my ultimate Cinema 4D, ultimate hyper mega knowledge in real time. Or thereabouts, because I could go back and redo the video perfectly. But so that's some stuff we got planned too. So if you have questions about that, go ahead and drop them. But yeah, I think we're coming up around that time. So I'd like to thank Kial, Megasteakman, for being on the podcast.
Thank you. It was a big honor. It was great.
Thanks, dude. And why don't you let people know where they can go check out your stuff, where they should go, and what they should look for?
Oh, sure, yeah. So it's youtube.com/Megasteakman. That's like the steak you eat. Otherwise, just search for Pokemon Apocalypse, and you'll find my channel. Yeah, look forward. If you have any questions about what I do, send me an email on YouTube, and I'll definitely answer.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Kyle has some awesome making of videos too. I was watching the one where you were showing how, I think it was the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs one.
Oh, that one's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really like, you know, informative and stuff too, and I was digging those. I was watching those. And then, what do people have to look forward to from you in the future? Like, what are you working on, or what do you got? What's your next big thing coming out?
I've got this video called Friend Zone, and it's about like a hotline guys want to be in the friend zone. Mm-hmm. Like, so basically these girls call them up and complain to them, which I think is pretty funny. And other than that, just sketches until, well, okay, this is like the first time I'm going to break this news. We are thinking about doing a Pokemon web series, and we're actually in the process of writing it. And yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be darker than what you saw in the trailer, and just take Pokemon to some weird places. So look forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And we have Jimmy Screamer Claus. People, you got some news for people. They can go out and do like I did. I got your DVD, Where the Dead Go to Die. Well, actually, my girlfriend bought it, but we watched it 2 nights ago, and it was awesome.
Thank you.
So let motherfuckers know.
Oh, yeah, you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to unearthfilms.com and get the limited editions, which have the limited edition DVD, Blu-ray, and a VHS with exclusive extras, and an exclusive Heartstring Marionette trailer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And actually, the extras are awesome. Like, there's the mocap madness. So it's like, you see inside a Screamer Claus' studio, and one of his friends looks like a serial killer, and it's pretty awesome because he doesn't say anything. And then this other guy's like, do motion capture, and he's all blah, 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 like moving 1,000 miles an hour, and like, yeah.
In my dingy basement.
Yeah. So you get to see where he works, and then we were watching him with the commentary track too, and that was awesome because when you said that Tainted Milk was supposed to be a comedy.
It really was, though.
You know, and the whole Lassie thing, I was like, oh shit, why didn't I get that? Laddie and Timmy in the well. So I can give 2 thumbs up to Where the Dead Go to Die on DVD, and I'm sure the VHS is more awesome because it's limited edition. People should just buy all of them. Oh, sweet. So yeah, and then what are you doing, James? How's that short film doing?
It's doing things. I think, yeah.
Okay. Did you finish Resident Evil Revelations yet? You beat Norman?
No, I'm pretty unproductive.
Dude, get the P90, dude. That P90 machine gun, and then shoot him with shotgun. Spam him with the P90, and then yeah, he goes down easy.
I could also be found at the Laugh-In in Cottahawken, PA.
Okay, we'll see you there with the P90, or I think that's the name of the gun. But yeah, so thank you to everyone for listening to the Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast. Again, thanks to Kyle, Megasteakman, for being on the show, and we'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast. If you have questions or something comments, then please you ask them wherever it's posted. Subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, or tell a friend if you have any. If you don't, then whatever, make your movies anyway, motherfucker. It is not easy, but somebody has to do it, because Hollywood fucking sucks. With machine guns for leg gun machine. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat.